Good morning everybody, Farmer Nick here. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a brief introduction to the concept of permaculture. Permaculture combines the words permanent and agriculture, and it refers to things like trees and shrubs that we plant very intentionally to deliver a host of benefits to your gardening or farming operation. So these things are anything that you don't have to plant year after year after year. This includes large trees and fruit trees, all the way down to shrubs and herbs that you may not have to plant year after year. When we think of a gardening and farming operation, we often think about it in terms of its annuals, the things like tomatoes, peppers, things that you have to replant over and over again, collect seed for, or buy seed for, year after year. When you have a tree or a shrub in place in your operation, you don't have to replant that again. So this ensures that you have continued production even without your annuals. So this is really important for economic resiliency for farmers, but the main benefits of having trees and shrubs in your gardening and farming operation are the benefits that it delivers to your annuals. So when you have trees and shrubs continuously growing, that helps feed the soil biology through the winter months when you may not have annuals. It helps keep something alive in the ground, and therefore activity in the soil can continue. This is just one benefit of trees and shrubs, but their benefits extend beyond what we typically think they even do. So trees and shrubs also shed their leaves in the winter, and this provides ground cover for years to come. This matter will get worked into the soil, and it will help feed that soil microbiology that we were talking about if you have enough shrubs and trees growing in your operation. So having trees and shrubs around helps continuously feed the soil biology for parts of the year that you don't have anything growing necessarily. Hopefully you have a cover crop in place when you don't have annuals growing, but trees and shrubs ensure that something is staying alive and keeping that soil biology healthy and fed. And so another huge benefit of having trees and shrubs in your operation is its shielding effect. When I say shielding effect, we can take Colorado as a prime example of why it's so important to have this so-called shield. So off here in the distance, we have a really dry, barren field with nothing planted in it. And that air is often wafted over to our garden. That air is super dry because there's no plants growing there. There's nothing transpiring, and therefore the air is super dry. When that air comes here, there's a moisture gradient, and because there's a moisture gradient, that moisture wants to seep out of our plants and into the dry air. And so in order to prevent this, we can establish what's called a leading edge with these trees and shrubs. These trees and shrubs help dim that moisture gradient so that when that dry air blows over our garden, there's some time for the air to adjust to higher moisture levels, and therefore there's not so much moisture escaping from our annual plants. And this is super important because we need to retain as much water in the system as we can in order to continue the process of photosynthesis and let our annuals grow as much as they can. Benefits of trees and shrubs don't even end there. Trees and shrubs do something incredibly important for our landscapes. They help prevent erosion, and they do this by having a really wide spread of roots, and therefore they hang on to soil and they cling to it. And in these environments, some of these plants produce really good environments for other plants to grow. So for instance, if you have some coniferous trees growing nearby, that might provide a really good acidic soil environment for things like blueberries. which really prefer and need a acidic soil environment. So these trees and shrubs are incredibly important in any operation, and yet they're often overlooked. Some farmers today are practicing what's called alley cropping, where they plant rows of trees and shrubs and then plant annuals in between. This helps maximize sunlight angles for any of the annuals, especially when the trees and shrubs are young and short. And so when you're growing in alleys, you have young trees growing first and young shrubs growing first, and that's a time to plant things that really enjoy sun in your alley. When the trees become a little bit more mature and start to grow taller and establish a higher canopy, that's time to plant things that maybe need a little bit more shade. And so it's this continuous cycle of letting your trees grow and then planting things in between your trees that complement the sunlight angles coming in. So when we're appropriately utilizing these sunlight angles and feeding our soil, establishing shade, and creating a beneficial microclimate for our annuals to grow in, you're creating a really resilient gardening or farming operation. What we have growing at DGS right now are a few cherry trees, apple trees, peach trees, along with a few raspberry bushes and blueberry bushes, and even things like currants and herbs like rosemary. All of these things are growing along our tree line here, and hopefully as these trees and shrubs get bigger and get more mature, they're going to create a really nice moist microclimate for us here at the DGS garden. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for our video next week, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, guys.